whoever's calling, I'm going to have to tell them I have to call them back. But the gentleman said, announced his name and said, I'm from the coroner's office in San Diego. So I knew immediately why he called, and that all hope was lost.
Well, I've tried to think long and hard about what I'm going to say, and I know there's probably not a lot of time. So
It's hard to know whether to be sad for David about the ending of his life. I'm sad for me and his family that we'll get to see him again. But as the coroner told me on the phone, he said David had a very serene countenance. He looked like he died peacefully. David lived his adult life doing what he wanted to do with people he loved and who loved him, and who's to say whether this was a bad life?
I'm just very, very thankful that this end of the part of the task is over. Thank you. Thank you.
The Maiders aren't able to be so philosophical. Gail had only been in the cult for 3 years and was just 27 when she died.
I came home from work one night, I turned the TV on, half looking, and I just glanced up and I saw one of those flyers, just like the one we got, go across the screen. Then they showed a picture of Applewhite, and I knew we were in trouble.
When I first got home and he told me, I said, oh, dear God, I paced the floor uncontrollably saying, dear God, don't let her be there. Please don't let her be. Let her call and say, Mom, I backed out the last minute. I'm in the bushes. I'm hiding. Get me out of here, whatever. But don't let it be her. And then her girlfriend came in and she said, God, Gail's on that goodbye video. And I said, no, Gail couldn't be. And it came on. And I didn't recognize Gail because she had black circles around her eyes. She had aged so much. I thought it was a 40-year-old woman. But once she opened her mouth to speak, the voice was there, and I realized it was Gail. And I thought, oh, dear God, it can't.
That wasn't the Gail we knew.
Gail would have never taken her life knowing how much it would hurt us.
That was Applewhite's Gail.
Yeah.
I can tell you that Doe is the most special, dignified, unhuman, objective person that you can ever meet.
That's right.
He has helped us so much and put up with so much and never done anything that seemed even close to the way a human would respond. And I guess that's really all I want to say.
We're angry at Applewhite because not only did he kill her, but he killed our future with her and with any grandchildren we might have had with her. And she just had everything to live for. And now I can't believe that she's dead.
We still say that it was one suicide and 38 murders. That was induced suicide, really. That wasn't suicide in the true sense of the word. Leaves an awful big hole in your life.
And it's been a big enough hole for 3 years, but now that hole is never going to heal because she's gone.
I mean, the kid's supposed to bury the old folks, not the other way around.
Have confirmed that 39 people found dead at a mansion near San Diego committed mass suicide. Their bodies were discovered after an anonymous tip-off, but it's still not clear how they died. In the words of the officer in charge of the inquiry, the victims took their own lives in a strange ritual that left them appearing as though they had died peacefully in their sleep. There were no suicide notes, and none of those who died showed signs of physical injury. However, an employer of a former sect member claims 2 videos taped by the 39 victims showed them saying goodbye, and even citing several saying their bodies will be taken away by UFOs. Earlier it emerged that there had been members of the religious group. They designed web pages for the computer internet.
This exclusive neighborhood 20 miles outside San Diego was the scene of what police have now confirmed was a ritual suicide. The 39 men and women in their late teens and 20s were found yesterday afternoon lying on the floor, each one covered with a triangular purple-colored shroud. According to the police, there was no blood or any sign of trauma at the scene.
From the appearances, it would appear that it was a mass suicide. Not to say that that's exactly what happened, and we won't know that for sure until we're able to complete the investigation.
As the bodies were removed in the early hours of this morning, there was still no indication of the time of death, but neighbours say there has been no sign of activity at the house since last Saturday. Nor is the cause of death known, but a specialised police team confirmed there was no evidence of poisonous gases inside the house. Police were initially alerted to the problem in the mansion by a neighbour who claims to have seen a home video of cult members made before they died.
But they pretty much believe that their souls are eternal, and that by the time this video was seen, that they would no longer be on this planet. And they seemed jovial and excited about this next stage. They felt that they were going to be going to a better place.
As detectives continue their investigation, information is emerging about the group that may have driven the men and women to their death. Higher Source, an internet design company, is suspected of being a front for a religious cult. The organization, which is said to recruit members on the internet, is believed to have rented this house since October 1996.
At the time I went there, there was probably at least 8 or 10 people, men and women, working on these terminals in like a main room. And he did say that they weren't like other religions that, needed outside support. They were self-sufficient and did it through the computer work.
This incident comes just 1 week after another ritualized suicide in Quebec in which 5 people died. However, there is not believed to be any link between the Canadian incident and the deaths yesterday near San Diego.
Mass suicides of cult members are not new. In 1978 in Guyana, Jim Jones ordered more than 900 of his People's Temple movement to drink juice laced with cyanide. More recently, in Waco, Texas, 80 heavily armed members of the Davidian sect died after setting fire to their ranch headquarters when it was under siege from the authorities. Their leader, David Koresh, died with them. In Tokyo, violence was turned on the public with poison gas attacks on the underground. Cult leader Soko Ashara is being tried for these crimes. Only last weekend in Canada, followers of the Solar Temple sect killed themselves but failed to persuade teenagers to follow them to the grave. Experts say that in life, as in death, the young are especially vulnerable to a cult's manipulations.
So it's a clever system of offering a promise and then making people work hard for salvation, I suppose.
Here in Ireland, Michael Gard works for the Dialogue Centre, which specialises in cults. His work is funded by the 4 main churches. He wants a Doyle committee to investigate certain religious groups which he claims are exploiting people by offering health care and counselling for personal problems.
I think it's time for society to wake up before we, in fact, find ourselves in a kind of comparable situation to what we found in San Diego earlier this morning.
As traditional religion declines here, the new cults see their opening. Researchers say that if the European experience is repeated here, those cults could win up to 50,000 Irish members. The Dialogue Centre is warning about the practices of a minority of the cults. It says it's illegal to recruit anybody under the age of 18.